of Allah used to sometimes barakallahu fi, combine between those long surahs, but that is in night qiyam. That is not leading the people in the prayer, in the fard prayer. He would combine between al-Baqarah and us-Saalih Imran. These are three long surahs. If you don't recite these surahs, you at least spend about 2.5 hours, at least. And he says that he's on rak'ah one rak'ah. So the second rak'ah, another. So that's 6 hours qiyam, just for 2 rak'ah. So that is sometimes, and it's very rare as well, very rare. And the Prophet ﷺ used to say, أفضل الصلاة طول القيام. Best of the prayer is the person who recites more in his prayer, meaning in his qiyam. So now we have a competition between the sujud and the qiyam. We know that the sujud, the Prophet of Allah said, the closest where the person can be to Allah Azza wa Jalla is in his sujud. And that is why you increase in making the dua. But we know that here the Prophet of Allah, he said, أفضل الصلاة طول القيام. The best of the prayer is the one which has more qiyam. Well, we could combine the two together by saying, as Shaykh al-Islam also had said, that is, the qiyam is good in its recitation, and the sujood is good in its position, or it's in posture. Posture-wise, this is sujood, isn't it? Because you are humbled on the ground and making sujood, so you are better in that situation. But in your qiyam, you are better in your dhikr and reciting of the Quran and all of that, you are better. Also, we can add to that, is that the person, he would be better when he makes his qiyam longer, then it will be relevant to make his sujood longer. Do you understand? So the more longer, because if you recite more qiyam, then it will be relevantly to be closer to the what? More sujood, in time-wise. But let me now make sure that you understand the following. The etiquette of the prayer is as follows. There's qiyam is an individual entity, and then the ruku', and the upright from the ruku', and then the sujud, and between the two sajdah. The second sajdah, that's a second entity. So we have the two entities. One which is what? The qiyam, and the other one which is the other 4, which is ruku', coming up from the ruku', sujud, between the two sajdah and the two sajdah, and between the two sajdah. That's 4. This one is not linked to those 4. So this one, you could prolong it as much as you can, and those 4 has to be equivalent in time-wise. So your ruku' is supposed to be equivalent to your upright, which is Sami Allahu liman hamid, supposed to be equivalent to your sujud, supposed to be equivalent to what between your sajdah, supposed to be equivalent to the second sajdah. Is that understood? But sometimes, which is during the night prayer, Prophet of Allah, he would equalize between the 5. Between his upright, which is the qiyam, and between the ruku' and Sami Allah min hamida and the sajdah, between the sajdah and the second sajdah. And that is as well, it's only in the night qiyam, not in the normal prayer. So the imam has to know that for a fact when he leads the people. That his qiyam is a different entity from those. So those have to be equal to each other. But the qiyam has to be what? Longer. Do you understand? It has to be longer. And also I could add to that the Prophet ﷺ, not just in the qiyam, sometimes during a prayer which is where people are locked, like for example in the prayer of the kusuf. So also the prayer of the kusuf, he would make his ruku' is equivalent to his what? His upright. Also in the Jumu'ah, because the Prophet of Allah, he used to recite Surah Qaf while he's delivering his khutbah. You understand me? Qaf. He would recite Qaf while his khutbah is about Surah Qaf. Now Surah Qaf, if you recite it, it takes a bit of time. And at the same time, he would make his salah with Sabbih ismi rabbika al-a'la, first rak'ah, second rak'ah, hal ataka hadithul ghashiya. If I recite these two surah combined together, they will not come as almost 2/3 of the qaf. Okay? So qaf still longer. Alright. But I know that the Prophet ﷺ, he said from the indication and the signs of a good faqih khatib, person who's a good speaker, that his khutbah is shorter than his what? His prayer. So how can the Prophet recite Surah Qaf, which is longer than both surahs, and yet his salah is longer than his khutbah? And that is to do with what? His ruku' and his sujud. So when he's making ruku' and making sujud, he's making it long. Not as long as Sabbih Isma Rabbika al-A'la, but I would say long. And then Sami Allahu liman hamid, long. Don't make your ruku' and your sujud as long as your recitation as your imam, because people will not take that. If you are fortunate, I would say, if you have made your, for example, let's say 20-second ruku' and you still haven't been chucked out from the being an imam, mashallah, you're very good. I'm telling you, 20 seconds a lot. Just to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Already the people are boiling. Before I went to the second 10 seconds, already the people are boiling. They will not take it. They say, oh, my back, oh, my. Start complaining. So, the imam has to understand that there's two things here: qiyam and the other 4 pillars. These are not linked to this. But in the qiyam of the night prayer, sometimes the Prophet of Allah, he would make his ruku equivalent to his qiyam, which he recites al-Baqarah, Nisa, al-Imran. That can give you back pain. Who said that? For verily Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, and for verily Hudayfa ibn al-Yaman. And Abdullah ibn Mas'ud RadhiAllahu Anhu said, Messenger of Allah, oh, what's happened? He said, I got the pain in my back. Why? That night, Messenger of Allah prayed behind you. He said, you should have told me. It was the qiyam. And he did not make a qiyam with somebody. He just started the Prophet of Allah on his own. And that's what he's supposed to be. So if somebody had made qiyam on his own and somebody joined in, like his wife or somebody else, no problem. He joined in. And the Prophet of Allah realized he joined in. So now, he had made his ruku', so he cannot now say Allah on his own. He has to be with the Prophet of Allah. So after the prayer, he said, Inni la ajiru dhalika fi dhahri. Messenger, find the pain in my back. He should have told me. How can you tell him now? Messenger of Allah, please, ruku'. How can you tell him when he's praying? How are you going to tell him? Give him a nudge, like this. Yeah, that's how you're going to tell him. You're going to tell him. You're going to talk to him, Messenger of Allah, my back. You can't say that. Our prayer is finished. So a nudge, or, like this, or point something like this, the Imam would understand that. And that's how the Prophet of Allah used to shorten his prayer when he hears the what? The cry of a baby. Because he knows when the baby cries, 3 things will happen. Number 1, the baby is in need of his mother. Number 2, the mother is in need of his what? His baby. Number 3, the people are saying, come on mother, take the baby away. The 3 things happen. The baby is in need of his mother. Number 2, the mother is in need of her baby because the baby, her baby. And plus, she said, oh, come on, you're going to give me a headache with these people, stop crying. And that's all inside her head. And number 3, the people are already boiling. Why do you bring your child? They're saying inside themselves, why should you bring the child here? Why don't you just pick him up and be quiet? And because they want to concentrate as well. Because of that, the Prophet of Allah would consider that and take that in consideration. Straight away he would hasten the prayer and he would not go as he had planned. What he had planned is what? Long. Because of the cry of the baby, he made it what? Sure. Right?
When he recited